All right, next video we're going to do here, 10 exercises. We're going to start with the bottoms up clean. Then we're going to squat with that bell in bottoms up position. And then we're going to come out of the squat and we're going to press it out overhead. So aside from the clean, these are slow, controlled grinding movements. So you want to use a bell that you can really maintain control of. So we're going to get into our swing ready position. You're going to hike your bell back and you're going to clamp into a bottoms up position. So setting up the hand underneath the ball of the kettlebell is really essential for getting this bottoms up clean position. Wrist is also nice and straight, but a little bit of balance. So here's our bottoms up clean. We're going to maintain this through the squat. So keep your other hand ready if needed. We're going to come out of the squat and then we're going to press the kettlebell out overhead. So you can do this on each side. We're just going to have to bottoms up, re-clean on each one. Squat nice and slow and controlled, inflate those abdominals, fill them up, protect the back that way, and then press it out overhead. So you can do each side on these, or you could just drop into a hand switch and switch on each one. It's really just your preference. So bottoms up clean, squat, and press it out overhead. So good manageable way for that. Next exercise will be a two-handed swing, or if you're more comfortable doing deadlifts, go ahead and choose to do a deadlift. We want to make sure we get a good hinge, a good stretch of the hamstrings and glutes. We keep our lower back out of it. We get a good lockout through the abdominals, the lats, as well as a good exhale through the lungs. So one of the main advantages to a swing over a deadlift is more cardio, more reps. One advantage to a deadlift is more max strength. They're pretty much similar as far as in health and fitness. They're both good things to do. So whichever you're more comfortable doing, go ahead and choose to do. But swings the bells out in front of you, hike the bell high of your hips, lats are engaged, just like our kneeling swings and the other swings that we do here. We want to make sure that we keep alignment of the fists in the ball of the kettlebell, and we get good lockouts, and we have each rep as good as it can possibly be. Or we can choose to do a deadlift. Just make sure you get a good lockout. And usually deadlifts, you can lift a lot heavier weight on those. After that, we'll go to a windmill. Windmill is more of a hinge as well, but it's a hinge with a bit of rotation. Mirrors are always helpful for this because as you drop into your hinge, you can always view to see if you have alignment from the tailbone to the top of the head, because that's something that we want. So we're always going to get our feet staggered. Your front knee is going to have a little bit of bend. The front leg's going to be a little bit more in front. The back leg, the heel should stay right under the hip. So just like our swings or any kind of hinge, we want to push our hips back and hike the weight to that back hip. From there, we're going to fold. You can always use your front hand on your leg to improve your spinal position on these. So you don't really have to use weight until you can move well on these, or you shouldn't use weight until you move well on them. So we always want to make sure we can get parallel. Your top hand will be overhead. We always want to make sure that wrist is straight, and then we come out and lock it out through the hips, through abdominals. So good pelvic tilt back, rotate. If you're facing a mirror, you can see the depth of it. You can see your spinal position. You can do this with body weight. You can do it with the bell low, but that takes away your guide hand and improvement of your spinal position. Just make sure that you can keep a good spine if you're going to get the bell low. And then lastly, we take the bell overhead. Make sure the wrist stays straight. The elbow can bend. We don't want our wrists to bend on these. So your hips cut back. You can always use your front hand and power up, get a good lockout. So we're going to do windmills on each side. Heavier kettlebell. Get a good mobile squat going. Hop your feet back and together. Bring your feet wide outside the bell. Make sure your back's nice and straight. Power up, right row your bell. Right back into another squat thrust, feet together, feet wide. Stand up, power up, right row. If you come out short, you don't quite make it all the way, walk forward, do your low back a favor, and upright row from over top of the bell. This just is more low back than you need to use. This will generate more power from the legs. So tiny little step forward. We'll be good on those. Staggered push ups. So just like it sounds, you're gonna have your hands staggered. Bottom hand's gonna be below the pec. Top hand's gonna be right under the shoulder. And you're gonna turn and look into that bottom hand a little bit. Inhale into it. Switch your hands at the top. Inhale into it. Exhale out of it. Switch hands at the top. Inhale in, look into that backhand. Empty the lungs, squeeze the abdominals. Full range. We can always go to a kneeling base on those. Just make sure you're doing a good push-up. Sprinter lunges. Great for flexibility in the hips. Great for use of your abdominals. Great conditioning exercise. So you want to line up in a push-up position, and we're going to drop into or land in a lunge position on each one. So your fingertips can be on the ground to give you a little more clearance. We're going to hop and switch. And if you're coming up short like this, I'd suggest taking your feet outside your hands, bring your hands a little bit closer, because you always want to land with a vertical shin on these, just to keep the pressure off the knee, but also to stretch out that back hip flexor a little bit more. And we're not really getting it with this knee over toe position as much as we could. So if something's worth doing, it's worth doing correctly. So we want to make sure we can stretch the hips out on those and land in a good vertical shin. So after our sprinter lunges, we're going to go to a little more of a therapy exercise, bird dogs. If you raise your right hand, you're going to raise your left leg. So we get that whole cross section, the rear sling as it's known by other people as well. But you want to open up your hand as much as you can. You want to flex all the muscles in the hand all the way up to the shoulder, be able to pull the shoulder into the socket, and maintain tension from the shoulder all the way to the back glute. So nerves in the hand, open up, nerves in the back of the leg, and then we switch on each one. So glutes nice and tight, toes pulled towards you, hold for 3 to 5, and switch on each one. So we don't want this big arch in our back. We want to pull the pelvis forward, keep the abs engaged, and make sure everything feels good. We can always elevate these a little bit, no more than an inch or so if you're going to elevate them. From there, we'll go to a plank shuffle. So just like it sounds, we're in a plank, we're moving forward and back. We move through the ankles, so we don't want our knees to bend on these. So it's easier to count 1, 2, 3, 4. Make sure your plank's good. And count back 1, 2, 3, 4. And just make sure that we're really locking out our plank through the lats, quads, glutes, pelvis forward, and then on every exhale, squeeze the abs out to get a little more out of it. Next one we're going to do is a chop lift. So the bell's going to go from your hip to the top hand shoulder. And if you're looking in the mirror, that kettlebell should block the top shoulder out visually. So it goes from your hip, glutes are nice and tight, goes in a diagonal line, block the top shoulder out, make sure your lats are engaged, bring it back to your hip. Slow, controlled, turn the lats on. When you get there, hold it for a second or so, and then you can just kind of drop it back to the starting position. So all work is done, going up, holding, and then back. And then we're going to the other side with those. So that's the kind of grip I've got from hip to shoulder. And then our last exercise, flutter. We used to end every wrestling practice in high school with these as fast as you can get your feet moving. And that is it for this routine.